I'll get it. Yeah, and do you want, I'm just gonna do a very quick introduction and hand it right over to you and just say the couple things that are coming up, depending on who all's here too, especially like, I'm not gonna go into a big rigmarole because most people know, I think. And then I will have, I guess I will have everybody, I forgot to say this, Michelle, have everybody turn off their, except for you and Rick, turn off their cameras if that's okay, while the two of you talk. If you want a few,
That's fine with me.
Okay.
However you want to do it is okay.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't throw you. Sometimes people want a couple people, if you're like, give me some faces.
Yeah. Are you going to ask people to put stuff in chat?
Yeah, I'll keep track of the chat, and I'll also let them and kind of, I'll only interrupt if there's something, that seems like there's a pause and it makes sense to go in right then. Otherwise, I'll try to wait and have people even ask their own questions, maybe, some to just get some diversity. Once we kind of get to the Q&A question period, we can have them turn back on their cameras so that we can invite a little more conversation.
Sure,
and
that's
have
fine.
it
Yeah.
here. So yeah, and hopefully everybody can get on and not yeah, there was a tornado somewhere in Sacramento County.
Oh, really?
In Galt.
Galt, is that where it was? I just saw Sacramento
Yeah.
County and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, Channel 3 was covering it, and it actually tore the roof off of a little cow barn down there, and did a little bit of damage. So it was
Oh my
an honest to God tornado.
We usually get one during the year, but they're never very big.
Yeah, they are kind of in the flatlands there.
Right.
Right. I had one that went through Flint in the I guess the mid 50s when I was just barely aware of it. But at my aunt and uncle's house, they had a one story without a crawl space, just a crawl space, and they tried to get my aunt, who was really fat, underneath there, and it took the whole house and totally destroyed it. But they found their water heater about a half a mile away in a tree.
Jeez.
And this is what's really great about it. The way they knew it was their water heater was the kids' paintings were still Scotch taped to it.
Oh wow!
So all that turbulence, but the Scotch tape held.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can handle the fires, the earthquakes, that kind of stuff. Those things scare me.
Tornadoes are scary.
Tornadoes? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I'm gonna let Suzanne Hayworth. Does anyone know who that is?
It sounds familiar, but
yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and 2 people entered the waiting room. Okay, I'll start letting people in. Pat is also here. So
Seven? Yeah, here we go.
okay, Jennifer.
I guess we had was it 30 people signed or 20 people? How many
30 people signed up. So
30 people signed up.
Great.
Michelle, you're very popular.
That was big. Yeah, that's a big number.
We do a dog and pony or song and dance.
People are coming.
Hey, can you hear me all right? Because Terry always says my microphone's screwed up.
Your microphone? It sounds fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Turn up the volume on it. So. Yeah, June's here.
Good to see her. Oh, I got more people. Admit Karen and Frank. Hello. Go ahead and turn your cameras on, guys, and your
Cindy.
you can unmute yourself too. I guess we have this on automatically, but go ahead and say hi. Welcome. People are rolling in just in time. Okay.
Let's see if we get some East Coasters here.
June.
Yeah. Sorry.
Hi, Frank. Haven't seen you in a while.
I know. Good to see you, Frank.
He's down the street from me.
Oh, gosh. Everybody's in your neighborhood. They're either in your neighborhood or Roseville, I feel like. All right. We've got people rolling in. Good to see everybody. Hi. And we're just going to give it a couple more minutes here. We don't want to start too early because we still got people coming in. Good to see you, June. Hi, Pat. Karen's here. Cindy, good to see you and all your books. Oh my gosh, I love your love your bookcase.
There's a lot more. I gave away 1,000 when I.
Oh my gosh.
Very sad.
Yeah, so hard to give books away, but they'll
It is.
have a good life somewhere with someone else.
The purging, yeah.
The library was grateful.
Yeah. No, I volunteer for my library and we get so many books coming through, but we get people leaving our sales with just bags and bags of books too, and they love it. So have them be read. All right. Nobody is near the tornado, right?
I don't think so.
That was Galt, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Galt.
crazy.
Where was it?
It was
It was in
Galt,
Gulf,
Jim said.
just south of the city. Channel 3 actually had coverage of it. It was an EF0, but it tore the roof off of a cow barn down there.
Wow.
So it was
Poor
it hit
cows.
it. Yeah, it actually hit the ground, did a little bit of damage. So
Ugh,
it was legit.
yeah. Wow.
I should have been a storm chaser in my little Equinox. It went into the eye.
No, I will stay away from those. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I've survived 2 tornadoes.
Have you? Where?
One in Illinois, one in Missouri. One took out the 2 farms next to us and went through like our whole backyard. And then the other one destroyed an apartment building a half block from where I was working.
Wow.
Hence, a year later, I moved to California.
And you said, give me those earthquakes.
Right. Anytime I'll take an earthquake.
I know. Oh gosh. Oh, wait, I got one more person I need to let in.
2 poor people in the waiting room. Hey,
Yep, I'm letting everybody in. I just saw a couple more coming. I think that is it for now. We'll let them get settled in. Hi, Anna. Hi, Veronica. You can go ahead and turn on your cameras and your microphones if you want to for a little bit here.
Hello.
Hi, nice to see you. Hi, Anna. Hi, Veronica. Welcome.
Hello.
All right. Well, I know it's
Anna, hello, Anna.
Hello.
nice to see
I came out for you
you.
tonight, Michelle.
Pardon?
For those of you that don't know, I'm a member, but I never appear in because
We're
I've
grateful to see your face.
been on the board of NorCal for like a million years. He knows me. Hi, Cindy. Congratulations. I see all your emails.
Oh, let me see, admit all. Okay, we got a couple more people still coming in. Dolores is trying to get in. And I think that is everybody. All right, hello, welcome. All right, okay. Sorry, I'm trying to start the meeting and let everybody in. So
I'll let people in. You go ahead and go start the meeting. I'll do the admissions. If you want me to.
yeah, okay, yeah, if anybody else needs to be let in, go ahead and do that. So I just want to welcome everybody. I'm Sarah Bresniker. I'm just gonna quickly get things running here. This is our Capital Crimes Book Club, and we are thrilled today to be talking to Michele Drier about her book, Tapestry of Tears. And our wonderful Rick Meredith is going to be the interviewer today and run the show. So just going to get just the 2 of them on screen quickly here. Dolores, we're seeing double. You're here twice.
Wow. It's paranormal.
Yes.
I don't know how you did that. Sorry, that just that threw me. Yeah, so I don't know if you've all been to our book club before, but if you've had a chance to read the book, that's wonderful. And you can have questions. If not, you can have questions about, just to Michele about anything, but I think she's gonna read a little bit, gonna talk about it. For the beginning part right now, I will have you go ahead and mute yourself and turn off your cameras so that it's just the 2 of them. They will do some back and forth. And then if you have questions, go ahead and put them in chat and I will do my best to keep track of those and either ask them as the time is appropriate, or at the end, we will have everybody come back. And you can ask your own questions too. So, so just during the presentation, just keep your questions in chat, and then at the end, we'll all have time to come back on and see everybody's faces and talk some more. So thank you, Michele, so much for being here. We're so happy to have you. And
Thank you for inviting me.
yeah, and all right, I'm going to go ahead and make myself disappear, and you guys can get on with it.
Okay.
It's just us now, no one else.
Oh, okay.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. And I think we're in for some fun. And I especially want to thank Michele Drier for agreeing to discuss her book, Tapestry of Tears. Welcome, Michele.
Thank you very much. I
And
appreciate it.
although many of you know Michele, let me just start with a little brief bio. Michele is a fifth generation Californian, and during her career in journalism at daily newspapers in California, she won awards for investigative series. She's a past president of Capital Crimes, the Guppies chapter of Sisters in Crime, and is the current president of NorCal Sisters in Crime. In 1920, she co-authored the Bouchercon, co-chaired Bouchercon, the world's oldest and largest convention of mystery fans and authors. She is the author of 3 series of books, the first being the Amy Hobbs newspaper mystery, which I think are 3 stories.
Three there.
Yeah, the 11-book paranormal romance series, Snap and Kandinsky mysteries, or vampire stories. And her current is a stained glass mystery series, of which tonight's book, Tapestry of Tears, is the second. She has also authored a standalone novel, Ashes of Memories. Michele lives in Sacramento with her cat, Mally. But most important, she is my friend and mentor. It was her writing course and her critique group that jump-started my writing when I first joined Capital Crimes. So thank you, Michele, and welcome to the Capital Crimes Book Club.
Thank you very much, Rick. Thank you very much. And it
If you
was.
don't mind, I'm just going to give a little synopsis of Tapestry of Tears before we go into the questions, okay?
You want to give it? You want me to do
Yeah,
it?
I got it right here. Unless you want to give it, I've got it right here.
Okay.
Okay, history has always been a strong magnet for Rosalind Duke. She took up the medieval craft of making stained glass and was building a solid international reputation, taking on larger and larger commissions. Her idyllic life with her husband, Winston Duke, an art historian at UCLA, was cut short when he was gunned down in a drive-by shooting. After moving to a small town in Oregon, on the Oregon coast, she was offered a commission to translate the medieval embroidery, the bio tapestry, into stained glass for a museum at a small Wisconsin university. Roz jumped at the chance, not only to transfer the tapestry into the new medium, but to spend time in southern England and northern France, tracing the path taken by the invading Normans under William the Conqueror. But the 21st century drags her back when she finds a body crumpled against a wall in an ancient stone church at a small town of Lamprey on the southern coast of England, as she walked into a contemporary murder. It was a very fun read, Michele. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
When I left Roz, she was back in Oregon with a budding relationship with her neighbor Liam and running her Greyhound Tut along the beach. Now she's in England and France. Can you elaborate a little bit on Roz's backstory about her husband's death in LA, the murder of her neighbor in Hamilton, and then how she got to Europe?
Sure. She's sort of a body magnet in a way. She doesn't set out to be that way, but she and Winston had this idyllic relationship and this wonderful marriage, and they studied together and they traveled together. They spent usually every summer. He was an art history teacher, art historian at UCLA, and she of course actually met him when she took his class, and they spent every summer in Europe traveling, looking primarily, he was doing picking up slides for his next classes and things like that, and she was studying glass basically. And one day she gets a call from the LAPD saying, "Are you Mrs. Rosalind Duke?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "We have some bad news for you. Your husband has been killed." And she said, "What?" And so she's absolutely stunned. It turns out that Winston had gone to a mall, which was not a mall that they usually shopped at, and as he was getting out of his car, was killed in a drive-by shooting. And so the first body is, of course, Winston's, and the LAPD is absolutely absolutely looks at her as a person of interest because they have no other leads. They don't know why he's there. They don't know, they don't know anything. So in the first book, Winston has already been killed. She has decided that she really needs to get out of LA. Too many memories, too much hurly-burly. So she moves to a little tiny town on the Oregon coast named Hamilton, which could be Lincoln City, could be Newport, could be any number of those small towns up there. And she builds a new life. She has a beautiful home. She has adopted a oh my God, greyhound named Tut, who runs like crazy. And she meets some of her neighbors. One day she's coming back from the beach and she discovers that they're dragging a body, not dragging, they're taking a body out of the house across the street. And she looks and there's lots of blood and in a plastic bag. And I know for all of you who do police procedurals, this is a no-no, and it's going to be a teaching lesson later on in the book. In the bag is one of her knives loaded with blood. And she goes, oh my God, what is this? What is this? So she ends up meeting another neighbor named Liam. They get together in a relationship, not a sexual relationship yet. And they get together in a relationship, and she discovers that the person across the street was a defrocked priest. And the crime in that book is pedophilia in the church. And so everybody asks me, what's the genre here? I really don't know. I call them dark cozies because I don't know what else to call them. Obviously, Roz is an amateur sleuth, although she doesn't set out to be an amateur sleuth, and she doesn't ever want to necessarily solve a crime. What she does do is try and get all the police forces off of her back because people look at her as a person of interest when she stumbles across these bodies. So what she does in that one is do a large installation piece for a new cathedral outside of Denver, Colorado. And through that, she meets the Archbishop and things get all tangled up with the pedophilia ring. And then I thought, what would happen if she goes to Europe by herself? She's only gone with Winston. So I thought, now what could she do that would be new and different? And I thought, aha, the Bayou Tapestry. Absolutely famous, absolutely wonderful. Maybe putting that into stained glass. That might be kind of interesting. So she ends up taking what she calls a sabbatical for about 6 months, she's assuming. She leaves Tut, her greyhound, with Liam back in Hamilton, and ends up in a little tiny town called Lympne. And it's actually on the south coast of Kent, south coast of England, and it's a place I've been to. So she spends a lot of time looking at all of the very early stained glass. And now she's starting to get intrigued about the actual manufacture of the glass itself, as opposed to the manufacture of the windows, because medieval stained glass has something in it. And this is a little segue, but I'm going to have to do a lot of research on this one, that has something in it that actually diffuses the light as it comes through cathedral windows, so that at any different time of the day, you get a different color through the glass. And so she wants to find that out. So she looks at a very old, probably 8th or 9th century Norman church there. No, not pre-Norman, sorry, Roman church, Romanesque church, and looks at the glass and discovers this body. And then she runs into this very nice DI out of I think he's out of Dover. I can't remember where he is. I have to look at that. But anyway, named Hal. And Hal is actually probably a member, not a member, is descended from the Norman invasion. So she's got all of this history piling in on her with the Normans and with the Bayou Tapestry and all of that. And then she ends up finding this body, doesn't know who it is, doesn't know why it's there, and neither does Hal, the policeman. That whole thing came to me one time when I read a lot and I read weird things, and I have stacks of Post-it notes and stacks of notes here and there. That one came from a note that I'd read somewhere about them finding 30,000 pieces of medieval glass in the attics of Westminster Cathedral, which they actually did do. They actually found that. And so what I thought was, that is a fascinating little factoid. I've got to use that somewhere. And what happens is that she finally finds out that somebody has stolen the 30,000 pieces of glass, which in fact is a national history, is a treasure, British treasure. So Hal says, I would like you to work with us, and work with me, and work with Interpol on some of the stolen art rings. So if we can figure out who's got this stolen glass. So she gets sucked in to a mystery, trying to figure out where the glass is and who stole the glass and why they stole the glass, along with this body that seems to have no relationship to anything else. So there she is, deep in the middle of the mystery, meeting all kinds of interesting people, probably coming up with an interest in Hal. And that's kind of where it is. And she travels back and forth on the ferry from the south coast of Kent to Normandy, the coast of Normandy, to the tapestry, and which is something I've also seen. I've been to Bayeux. So the whole setting of it was fun and wonderful, and I think really added to a lot of the mystery.
I want to just one thing, but she at one point though, again, just like in Hamilton and in LA,
Yeah.
she becomes a person of interest. Hal Fitzroy thinks she may be involved at one point in time.
Well, she's always becomes a person of interest because she stumbles across bodies.
Right.
And so they're going, okay, well, now your husband was killed. We haven't figured that one out. Your
Yeah.
neighbor was
It was
killed.
cute.
You know, you were there. Now you've got this body in this church. What, that's why I say she's sort of followed, not exactly followed by death, but she's followed by bodies.
Yeah.
And she can't figure out why she's being followed by bodies, what the magnetic attraction is there.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a little bit of a history lesson too, and I love that chunk of history. I mean, you're talking about Martello Towers, the sink ports. You can explain those and the tapestry and the cathedrals. You visited a lot of those.
Yeah, and I'm actually probably a frustrated historian. I would like to be a medievalist. I actually took a class in Anglo-Saxon in college. And you know, I'm pretty gaga for that, and I don't know why exactly, because I'm not particularly religious, but that whole medieval era, which is not the Dark Ages. There was a lot going on that we don't know about, you know, and there was much more positive history than the Dark Ages, but that whole thing fascinates me, and I don't know why exactly, but I thought, you know, okay, well, as long as we're going to do some stained glass stuff, let's really get into the history of the stained glass.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's totally interesting.
Thank you.
But you, Roz, though, you know, for a stained glass artist, she sure gets herself into a lot of trouble.
She does. Yeah. Well, she
If
wanted
you don't mind, I'm not going to give too much away, but let me catalog a few of the travails you put poor Roz through, if you don't mind. First, she discovers the Illick's body in the church. Then she's under suspicion by Hal that somehow involved in the theft of the 30,000 medieval pieces of glass.
right.
She runs into these two PE teachers that are doing research to up their value, and they're pretty odd. They're an odd couple.
Yep.
Then she's in Normandy and she's driven off a cliff.
Yep.
Then threatening look when she gets back with her leg in a cast, she gets a threatening note under her door at the hotel or at the inn she's staying at. Then her room is ransacked. Then a smoke grenade is tossed in her windows, starts a fire. Then all her electronics are hacked by this Eastern European gangsters. Then she's drugged and kidnapped for ransom. And she, well, I don't want to say too much about the sex trafficking, but you know, she runs into those two young sisters, you know.
Right.
All in a day's work for Roz.
Right. And none of that she sets out to do, other than stained glass, you know.
No, but you make your protagonist, she's through the ringer. When she's done.
Yes.
It's a nice little adventure.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell you more. The readers have got to find that. I don't know how many read it. It's a fun book. But one of the many, and this I got from your class, is one of the many facets of your writing I really admire is your description of the characters' expressions. You know, with a minimum of words. You know, and I just have a couple here that I pulled out, and like dark brown hair pulled into ponytail, dark eyes, full of good humor. just with that, just saw, a sorrow from deep in his soul washed across his face. Worry chased itself across Fitzroy's face. She watched emotions, anger, frustration, fear march across his face before he said. His eyes were tinged with sorrow. A small smile tugged at the corner of his mouth and worked her face into a look of concern mixed with interest. You always just put it right there. I can feel their emotions through their face,
Yeah, thank you. When I started at the Mercury News, I don't want to tell you how many eons ago, I had an editor who said, "You write really terse prose." I went, "Is that a compliment?" It turned out it was a compliment,
Yeah.
but I tend to write very tersely. I don't write. Well, as Rick knows, at first class I said, okay, first eliminate all the adjectives and adverbs, all of them, get rid of them. And he went, "Oh my God, I can't write if I do that." But he did, and he started putting them in. And I hope that the reader is going to take something like what you just read, Rick, and extrapolate from that and bring their own experiences and their own emotions and their own interests to form out that character. And that's part of the fact that when I read, I don't like the author defining the character for me. I want to know the character myself, and I define him or her myself. And so that's the way I write. Some people don't like that. I know a lot of people like a lot of description. Personally, I don't. And I think that if you can carve to the pith of it, that's a bad analogy, to the pith of it, you can actually ask people to bring their own emotions in and get what that character is or who that character is.
Yeah, because I don't think there was a description of Fitzroy. But I've got him as this Cary Grant type fella, looking like, it's like I put my own image to the guy because there's not a whole lot of description about the people other than their emotions on their face and stuff. I mean, physical descriptions.
Yeah.
And no, I appreciate that because you can help write your own story in that way.
Well, that I read a lot, and I read a lot of genre fiction, and I read a lot of literature, and I read a lot of nonfiction, and I read biography, and there are certain, I don't know, quirks, I guess I would call them, that are popular nowadays. One of which is using gerunds, which makes me nuts. And there's a whole string of English writers now who are using gerunds at the beginning of sentences, which makes me crazy. I mean, I can barely read the books. It makes me, because gerunds are perfectly fine verbs, but to use them constantly like that is a real crutch. You're not using language well. So I try and bring as many active verbs in as I can, and I try and sort of what I want to do is outline the characters well enough so that you can see them in your mind. Now, people say, well, when they make the movie, who are you going to have play? I have no idea. I mean, I know what they look like, but that doesn't mean what they look like, right?
Yeah.
And I only wish that they would do that, but they haven't, so far they haven't called. But to me, the key to writing is keeping it new and keeping it interesting and keeping it challenging a little bit. Even people in my critique group say, "Oh my God, I had to go to the dictionary to look up bleh." And I say, my work here is done. I think that even genre writing should challenge people a little bit.
Yeah. Well, on the same note, the voice, you describe voices and the feelings the same way. Again, a couple examples about her voice reaching into a peevish timbre. It tells you a bunch there.
Yeah,
exactly. Jocelyn's tone was light, but there was an underlying fear.
Yeah, and it's there are so many ways in which a writer can bring about the emotion in a character. And I think using 45, this is a way exaggeration, I'm not, but 45 paragraphs to tell us about his or her curly hair and her outfit and her, that doesn't tell me who the character is. What tells me who the character is what are they afraid of? What are they concerned with? What frightens them? What elates them? How do they relate to their surroundings, to other people? Are they, and I'm not a big psychological profile, I don't mean that by any means, but we all carry around some number of years of experiences inside ourselves. And those are the things that kind of make us who we are. And that's the thing that I find really interesting. For instance, Roz, as an example, is she does not know, she does know now, she finds out at the end of the first book, who killed Winston and how and what happened. But she still doesn't know why he was where he was.
Right.
And that is the mystery that's going to continue at least through the third book, which I'm in the process of writing, maybe more. I'm not sure that she probably will figure it out at some point, because it would be a little bit of a cheap shot to have her never find it out.
Yeah.
But that's part of her motivation, in a sense, is part of what's going to keep her hesitant about ending up with a relationship with Liam. It's going to keep her searching for new and creative things, because she just doesn't understand why he was there.
Yeah.
She knows how he was shot, but she doesn't know why he was in that position.
I got my favorite though of all these was she made her voice smile.
And when you think about it, you can tell yourself when you're bringing your smile to your eyes, to your voice, to your body language.
You may see that in future books by me. I don't know, maybe.
Right.
I love that one.
Thank you.
No, it's great. The other one, Roz felt a sizzle of relief wash over. I like a sizzle of relief.
I'm sorry, that one, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, Roz felt a sizzle of relief wash over her. Yeah.
Yes.
And the other thing I was really, the South English coast. Well, you always stereotype the fog, and how you made the fog a character a couple of times, and the weather a character in the book. And couple of two sentences that stood out for me was the fog came in like fingers sliding up the channel, hiding, then revealing objects in movement. And then the other one, the fog was a breathing thing, a force that ebbed and flowed and carried centuries of history, shifting battle outcomes, determined victors.
Yeah. And that's,
I love it.
that's I grew up on the north coast of California, in Humboldt County, and the fog is a living, and San Francisco too.
Yeah.
I can remember sitting in my grandmother's house, watching the fog come in through the Golden Gate, and it was always fascinating. I mean, the first poem I learned was Sandberg's "The Fog Comes in a Little Cat Feet." I mean, that one I knew from the time I was probably about 7, I don't know, something like that. And a fog to me is a personification of mystery, personification of hidden and revealing things. And, and of course, then she's used to the fog again on the Oregon coast as well. So she'll probably always end up in some places where there's fog.
Yeah, it just works. Especially in English, almost Sherlock Holmes in. Yeah.
You're right.
This is what I've talked to before. It's like the resolution between romantic resolution, the relationship between Liam back home and Fitzroy in England, and how poor Roz, I don't know where she's going.
Well, she doesn't either exactly. She and Liam have developed a very close friendship. And there's interest on both sides, but neither of them have determined that they might want to take it the next step. She does not want to get involved with anybody until she can sort out what is going on with Winston. What was there something she did that was instrumental in causing his death? And so she's not wanting to get into a relationship until she can sort out who she is in the terms of that relationship. So when she meets Hal, she's not particularly interested in Hal. I mean, she thinks she loves his British accent, and she loves the fact that he's probably of Norman descent. But as they work together through the book, they get closer and closer. And I never wanted it to actually be a playoff between Liam and Hal, but I wanted her to be able to relate to both of them in somewhat different ways, which I think she does. And Liam gets a little bit,
There's a tension between Liam and Hal.
I'm sorry.
There's a little tension between Liam and Hal.
There's a little bit of tension between Liam and Hal. I mean, Liam's sort of stuck at home, quote unquote, babysitting the dog while she's, you know, having a great time on the south coast of England with this attractive cop. However, in the third book, which I'm about 15,000 words into, Liam will get some just desserts.
No.
We'll just say it like that.
Well, I liked the idea that, you know, in the Fitzroy character, I mean, how he's empathetic to Roz's situation with the death of her husband, because he lost his wife and child in a car
Right.
accident. So
Right.
they both have that, they're kind of, they don't want to get committed because of the, you know, the hurt they've already been through. And I thought that they worked that in there very well. I like that a lot.
Oh, thank you. Thank
That
you.
was-
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, but should we talk much about, you know, the why of the story? I mean, you know, about the gangs and what they're doing and how she got involved in that, or should we just leave that to the reader to find out? I don't want to give too much away, but
No, I don't either. Suffice to say that the surface mystery, I guess I would say, which is the stained glass, which is the theft of the glass, turns out not to be the moving force.
right.
There are other things that are going on.
It's a multi-headed beast that the
Yeah, and you know,
criminal organization.
yeah, and there's always that, you know, from all the time that I spent in print journalism, there really are only two things that cause murder. One of them is money and one of them is sex. And generally the sex is tied in with the money, and it's also tied with the control. You know, those are the things that people react to enough that act to cause them to murder somebody, or to cause them to be murdered in some cases. So that there's not a whole lot of new stuff you can do. There's, you know, when you get to the root of what the violence is, I mean, look at Russia and Ukraine, for heaven's sake, that's just pure power.
Mhm.
You know, and it's ultimately money, and it's all these, you know, but those are the things that cause terror and fear in our world, is that fear of having something being taken away from you. And Roz is not necessarily afraid of that, but she stumbles across, I hate to use this word stumbles because she stumbles a lot, but she stumbles across it. You know, she's not looking for it, but it seems to be there, pervasive.
Trouble finds her.
Trouble finds her, definitely it does, yes.
Yeah, you mentioned, we alluded to this a little bit ago, and one of my questions was, how do you categorize the stained glass series? And I was thinking it's kind of like a cozy with sharp elbows, you know?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Well, and it's even like the Amy Hobbs newspaper mysteries. People have called those cozies. I don't think of them as, I call them traditional mysteries. I don't know what on earth to call them, because in the Amy Hobbs, she is closer to the mystery, because she's having her police reporter cover it. So she's privy to a lot more information, and she works very closely with the cops, you know, as closely as you do with journalism. But there is a symbiosis between journalism, between print journalism certainly, and police force. But she doesn't set out to solve the crime because the police are inept, which what happens in a lot of cozies. You know, the police can't figure it out, so I'm going to go in there and figure it out for them. Well, neither Amy nor Roz does that. It's more a case of looking for themselves. And particularly in Roz's case, what she wants to do is find out how she gets to be a person of interest and not be one. She wants to get out of that role again. Yeah. So a cozy in the sense that they're amateur sleuth, yes, but they don't set out to solve the mystery because the police can't.
Right. they're thrown into it and they're just, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this whole genre stuff makes me nuts. If I have to do, I call them cozies with an edge. I don't know what else to call them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, it's a good mystery is what it is, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
I think let's call it a mystery. Yeah.
yeah.
Fitzroy. I guess that would mean he was actually the bastard son of a king, right? At some point.
I'm sorry, what?
Fitzroy, doesn't that mean he was the bastard, his ancestors were the bastard
Yes,
son of
yes,
a king?
yes. He came from, who knows where, but
Yeah.
1,000 years ago, he came from a bastard line of the Norman
King.
barons. Yeah, the Fitzroy.
Yeah.
Fitz, the son of, yeah.
So that's it. Now, how about a little bit about process? I mean, I don't want to get too much into your whole health thing over the last few months or year, but is that slowed your writing down, or how much writing are you doing now? And
Well, it certainly slowed me down this year. I mean, the last book I published was Tapestry of Tears, and that was in 2021. I just having my 11th Kandinsky Vampire Chronicles formatted, so that will be published this year. So I will not miss a year, thank goodness, without a book being published. But yeah, it has slowed me down. It took me probably 14 months to write the Kandinsky book, and normally those come out 6 months, maybe 7 months max. So, and I have started the third in the Stained Glass series, and as I say, I'm about 15,000 words into it. So I'm shooting for that one probably late spring of next year.
okay,
And then after that, I've got the 12th in the Kandinsky Vampire Chronicles sorted out.
yeah,
I've got an idea for the 4th in the Amy Hobbs, which I've been kind of in the back of my mind. And I'm also in the process of talking to some friends, all of whom have also been diagnosed with cancer, about I don't want to call it an anthology because it's not that, but a book called I Am Not My Cancer, because there are so many people, and I will say women, I don't mean to leave out men, but women, because I know these women who have said, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not the victim here. I've got too much going on. What I say is, no, I'm sorry. I just finished the, hopefully, last of the radiation treatments. And there's too many books to read and too many books to write and too much stuff to learn.
so
I'm not chucking it in yet. No. So if I can pull that off, I just see myself more as I don't know, I'm gonna say ringmaster, I don't know, maybe a cat herder or something. Because what I'd like to do is have these other women, all of whom are writers and many of whom do, I don't know, 10,000 words about how they felt about the cancer diagnosis and the treatments and things like that. There's a woman, a friend acquaintance in New Zealand who was diagnosed about, I think, 2 months before I was. So we've talked back and forth. And one of the things that I'd like her to do, if she'd be willing to do it, is talk about the difference in the actual treatment and the medical issues between New Zealand and the US.
Yeah.
Because when I told her something about, what makes me crazy is the copays, and she said, what? The what's? They have no copay. They have socialized medicine. She didn't have to pay a dime. So, anyway, but is that
your energy levels back? Is it back to where it was before?
Not quite. No, I'm still tired. And I'm thinking it maybe I'm thinking it may end up being a consequence that's never going to go completely away.
Yeah.
But yeah, my stamina is coming back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So you're putting a couple hours in a week, or couple hours a day at the computer?
well, I actually spend more than that because of the way I work. Because first thing in the morning, I look at all my email, and I subscribe to a whole bunch of Reuters and AP and CNN and I don't know, a whole bunch of Axios newsletters, because they have I'm really kind of still a political junkie, even though I'm not going to watch tonight. So I spend probably an hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning going through it. But that's where I find some tips too. That's
Yeah.
where I found the thing about the stained glass, just this tiny little blurb. And I went, oh my God, that's worth, I ran across one yesterday or the day before. That was a quote from somebody in the British, I want to say MI5, I'm not, I have to go back and double check, but talking about, he was quoting a Russian who said, of course we've been involved in the US elections. We've been involved in them for years.
Oh, yeah, that he's the,
Okay.
he's Putin's chef.
There's the 12th book for the Kandinsky's, So I spend probably an hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning doing that. And then I kind of ditch around, but I spend about maybe 2 hours writing or gathering facts or something like that. When I'm really in the groove, which I haven't been lately because I don't have a whole lot of energy, unfortunately, in the afternoon, I can write 3,000 words a day, but I haven't done that for quite a while. So I'd like to get back to that.
That's pretty admirable. So you got 2 books in process right now then. Number 11, Kandinsky, and number 3.
Yeah.
Mm.
What I'm trying to do is get back to 2 books. There was one year that I actually wrote 4 books. I don't think I'll ever get back to that, but I'd like to be able to do 2 books a year.
So do you have a setting for Roz's next exploits?
Yes, she's in France.
Oh,
Yep. It starts out in Paris. She's been invited to give a paper on medieval glass at a conference in the Sorbonne.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
We get a side trip to Versailles.
Pardon?
We get a side trip to Versailles.
I don't know about Versailles, but she's, she hangs around oh, come on, Saint-Chapelle a lot. I don't even think I have it here, but the birdcage glass in Saint-Chapelle, which is the original chapel of the French kings on the Ile de la Cité, and right behind Notre Dame. But she's going to be doing a lot of traveling, and Liam is there too, because Liam has decided he's, among other things, he's a writer also. He writes science fiction, but he also is a travel writer, and he writes about wine. And he's going to be investigating why climate change is so hard on the French vineyards, because the climate change is making the south of France too hot for grapes, so that the best growing area is moving north, and they're moving into England. And English wine, oh, I don't think so, but that's where the new spot is coming. So he's going to spend a fair amount of time around Burgundy, Beaujolais, looking at what's happening to the crus where the French wines or the French vines are being killed by climate change. So there's going to be a sort of a secondary, I guess, plot about climate change as well.
Yeah, we were talking about that because I read this paper about the medieval warm period. I think it was 1807, and they had grapes. They had vineyards in mid-England.
Yeah. This is not.
This is warmer than
brand new, but yeah.
I think I just saw that Sarah had a one chat question. Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. I just a lot of compliments on your on all your books and on your vampire series too. So lots of people saying they want to see them made into movies. So
well, I'm actually I would love that. I'm actually fond of that for a lot of reasons. And actually that's the series that I have a fan club for.
Wow.
Not a big one, but a fan club nonetheless.
And do you self-publish those, or do you have a publisher, or how does
I self-publish? My first mystery was published. Well, they've all been published. Was through a small, medium-sized press, and it was a less than stellar experience. And that was in like 2011, just as self-publishing became a deal. And so I thought, well, okay, let's see what happens with ebooks. And then when I published the first of the Kandinsky books, which was also 2011, I thought, well, I'll go ahead and I don't know anybody's going to be interested in vampires. So I stopped looking for an agent and self-published it. And I self-published pretty much all of them now. I occasionally send out queries just to see if it's out there if there's any interest out there for either one or the other. But I like self-publishing.
And do you have people that you work with then for formatting and editors and all that type
I
of
do.
thing?
I do.
Yeah.
I have editors. I found a proofreader in New Zealand,
No.
which is really interesting. I have a cover artist, a dynamite cover artist.
You recommend somebody?
know.
They know her.
Yeah. And I have a critique group that is just without peer, most of whom are here tonight. I have several beta readers. I have, I don't know. I probably, one of the editors I work with occasionally is a woman named Lourdes Fenard, and I know that I introduced her to Rick.
Yeah,
You know, she's very, very good. So yeah, I've kind of built up this cadre, I guess I would call it, of professionals who take parts where I'm not the professional in that. I'm not a proofreader. I'm a really bad proofreader. I'm not an artist, although I did a lot of newspaper layout and kind of have an eye for it. But you know, there's a lot of things in the making and publishing of a book that I'm not a professional at. So I firmly believe in hiring professionals.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was gonna say, there's one question, but I want to let June ask it. So maybe I'm gonna take you to off spotlight and have everybody
Pressure's
turn
off.
back on. I gotta get you off spotlight now, Rick. You're the only one here and I don't know where it went. Oh,
It's
there
all
we
about
go.
me.
So everybody, yeah, no, we all want to go read now. But yeah, go ahead and you can turn your video on if you want to. And June, you had one question. If you want to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sure. Can you, I just love Michelle's dialogue. It's just always spot on and takes the place of so much narrative. And so I just wondered if she could give us any tips and hints about how to create fabulous dialogue.
I eavesdrop a lot. That's one of the things when I mentioned the gerunds, there seems to be a movement. It probably would never went away, where spoken language is very different from written language. And spoken language, we do not use complete sentences and words. We do not say, I do not do this. We say, I didn't do this. So I tend to write more in the vernacular when I'm doing dialogue. And I really do. I spent a long time watching people and watching their body language and listening. And even when you're standing in line at the grocery store, listen to how people talk, listen to how they interact. We meaning NorCal had Kara Black a couple of months ago do a presentation, and she was actually in France at the time, and she said the same thing. She said what she does is she talks to people on the benches. What she talks to people as they're walking through the parks. She watches people. She listens to their intonation. She listens to the timbre of their voices. She watches the expression on their faces as they're talking. And I think that that's one of the things that you can do, that one can do as a writer, to bring really good, fresh dialogue. Make it sound as though they're real people talking. And don't give away too much in the dialogue. Makes me crazy when people talk to each other with the, well, you know, Bob, and somebody comes up with this explanation that of whatever it is that everybody knows about, but it's the only way the author can figure out how to get the backstory into the book is through this forced dialogue. Don't do that. Pull it out. Bring it up as backstory. Do not put it in the dialogue, because it's just what you want with your dialogue is to keep it kind of like snappy patter and fresh and interesting. Is that helpful? You're pretty good at that yourself, you know.
Yeah, is it anybody else want to unmute and ask any questions? Just feel free.
Like somebody's trying to connect to audio.
Yeah, Linda.
Linda.
There I am. Well, I'm really interested in Roz. One of the, you don't tell us what the character is thinking so as very much, but Roz is fiercely independent. I read all the books, so, or the two so far. So she's fiercely independent, and I've never thought of asking this before, but was that, I mean, she's almost abrupt. She will protect her independence with everyone, and does not, and she's abrupt, you know, this is part of the character that we see. So I'm just wondering if that was planned, if you planned her to be that type of character, or if that emerged as you were writing it, as you were learning about this character and writing it, if you can remember.
Yeah, that's a good question. I always wanted her to be independent because she was at some level somewhat forced into it with Winston's murder, but she's always been independent, because even when they were married, she had her own career and her own interests and things like that. She's probably gotten slightly more abrupt, but she does not suffer fools gladly by any means, and it does come across as abrupt. But what I'm also trying to get at is the fact that women tend to be the peacekeepers. We tend to be the ones that will smooth things over, that will take it slowly, that will be the explainers. And I thought, you know, she doesn't have to. She has her own career. She is extremely well known, well, getting very well known internationally. She doesn't need to placate anybody. So she does come across a little abrupt. I don't mean that she's nasty, but she does not want to have anybody either denigrate her or mansplain to her or anything else. You know, she says, okay, I know this, we're going to do this. And she probably does come across as a little abrupt, but it was somewhat deliberate, I guess, for me to draw her like that. And she may be becoming more and more like that.
There's
Well,
one
I
instance
think-
I can think of. Oh,
I'm sorry.
there's one instance when when Hal's becoming a little overprotective, and she gets kind of, but then he was doing it because he was protecting a witness, not, you know, so they had that misunderstanding about why. But I thought that was a very good, bumping heads, but then they realized what they were both wanted the same thing.
Yeah, thank you, because that's and actually in the Kandinsky's of all the weird things, there's that kind of tension and sexual tension there as well, because in the Kandinsky's, the two male protagonists are vampires and have been for 500 years. The two female protagonists are 21st century women from LA who work for Snap, and they had not been changed. They were not vampires, but they were very strong and very independent. And so they do not want to have these overbearing 1750 characters come in and treat them like a 1750, you know. So there's a constant tension between the men and the women there. And of course, a chunk of that is sexual too. But there's, you know, it's that same kind of thing. I've been trying to figure out, the men, particularly the Kandinsky men, are the same thing. What they want to do is protect the women because they want to protect themselves as well. So it's kind of like what Hal does. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. I mean, I was thinking more about in relation to when Liam or when somebody wants to direct her or is a little too overprotective or something like that. And that's what I meant by abrupt. I didn't mean that she was rude or anything, just that she was very protective of her own decisions and
Yes.
what she was, yeah, and that she didn't need anybody helping her. When she
Right.
was hurt in that first book, she was hurt a few times, and she was
Yes. Yeah.
furious about that, and she didn't. It actually kind of reminds me of you a little bit with this cancer. I can drive myself.
I can't remember where I got that idea from.
Yeah.
You know, it's I think, well, for me anyway, to write a contemporary woman, I think that she has to be a little bit like that. Otherwise, I think she's not necessarily believable. I
Right.
think we've kind of moved beyond the shrinking violet, or what's the word? The climbing violet, the clinging violet. is what-
Yeah.
We'll come up with one of those. Yeah.
I think maybe we have time for just one more question. If anybody has anything, you want to unmute yourself?
Oh, I had a question.
Oh,
It's,
okay, okay.
I was just curious, Michelle, you write very descriptively about creating stained glass. Have you taken a class? Do you know how to do it?
Well, years and years and years ago, in an art history class, I could either write a paper or do a project. And I thought, well, so I made a very small Celtic cross, stained Celtic cross. I would never call myself a stained glass artist by any means, but I did learn the rudiments of, how you cut the glass and how you do the caming and how you put the leads in and how you temper what am I trying to say? You solder the lead caming and things like that. So I know the rudiments of it, but I'm not an expert yet by any means. And I thought about taking some more classes, but I'm not really, my small motor, I can't play the piano, I can't type. My small motor coordination is not that good. So I'd probably slice my finger off at this point. One thing I would like to bring up is the fact that there are a couple of people here who have taken classes from me. And one of the things that I'd like to think that I'm going to be able to pull together, start beginning next year, some more classes. So I don't know, Rick, would you like to talk a little bit about how you found me, or how you?
I think I was at a meeting when we used to have the meetings pre-COVID at that library in Rancho. Was it Rancho?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
I can't even remember who was speaking, but I cornered you at the end. I said, hey, I really enjoyed I'm looking for where I can, any classes in writing, or can you give me any recommendation? You said, oh, just so
Matter of fact.
and and we'd meet, and Karen was in it, and Linda was in it, and Nubia, and had a couple other people that came and went. And that actually developed into a critique group. And I got 2 books out of that critique group before COVID, so
Yeah.
I think it started a third. So it's so helpful. I really enjoyed it. So if anyone has an inkling to do it, you should take the class from Michelle.
Yeah. And the way I try and do it is when I have 5 or 6 people interested, and you can just send me a note and say, I'm interested. I don't like to do more than about 5 or 6 because I want a lot of participation. And there's going to be a lot of criticism, self-criticism, not to bring up Marxist. And eventually, I hope that they will form into critique groups. I can't begin to explain how important I think critique groups are. I think that they help us shape our work. They help us shape our ideas. We get feedback. Hopefully we get accolades. Sometimes we don't, but that's the first step. Writing is a really solitary business. You sit there with you and your imaginary friends, and you have a great time, but you don't know beyond your imaginary friends what's going to happen. And a critique group is the best and probably most kindest spot where you can try out some ideas and ask people, does this work? Am I really like this phrase. I really like this scene. I like this, but does it work?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the reasons why I try and build the classes so that they become critique groups.
And is there an email that people should email you if they're interested?
Yes, the easiest one is Michele Drier, all one word, at att.net.
Is it 1 L or it's 1 L? Okay, 1 L
Michele
at att.net.
.net. Yeah.
All right, I just put that in the chat if anybody
Thank
wants
you.
that.
I probably could have done that.
All right, that's okay. Hopefully I got it right.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Do you have any last words, Rick, before I
Well, no,
close
I just, thank you, Michelle. It was good
Yeah.
having lunch with you the other day, and we got to do it every couple of weeks. So.
I know, I
Thank you.
know. Thank you,
just
Rick.
enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Do you have the book with you, Michelle? Do you have the cover
Come
of the
Come
book?
on, we need some, mine's on there.
I've got this one.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Good cover. Who did that cover for you again?
That is an amazing cover.
Yes, yes, well, I'm gonna show you. I don't have all of them. This one I'm very fond of. This is one of the snap ones. And as you can see, my cover artist, who some of you might know, does a whole different take for the snap ones. They're more cartoony. These are more photographic, I would say, more scene setting. This is the Delta for Death. And I actually got a very nice compliment about 3 weeks ago from a woman who said, I've never read, I know a lot of people don't do first person, but you did the best job I've ever seen, even as a, what did she say? She was an editor for a university press in Idaho. And she said, even for the editorship, you did what is absolutely correct. You did first person, present tense better than anybody I've ever seen. So,
Yay. Wonderful.
Kudos.
Oh,
here's another snap cover.
Yeah.
cool. Okay.
So you can see the difference that Karen is.
And they're all on Amazon, basically, is the easiest way to get all of that.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, they're available.
Okay.
All of them are available in ebook and print. And about 5 of them, I think I lose track, are on Audible as well.
Oh, very awesome. All right. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Rick, and thank you, Michelle. This was so wonderful. And yeah, now I have a whole bunch of books to add to my list of things to read.
No,
And
I love talking about writing, and all I can say is read, write.
Yeah,
You know,
it's so important, reading all different types of things. Yeah.
yeah.
And before you all sign off, I just do want to remind you, on Saturday, we have our regular capital crimes meeting. And now it's Lisa Kessler, and she's going to be talking about writing fast and just tips on, she just produces lots and lots of books every year and is just really prolific. So tune in, that's on Zoom Saturday at 1 o'clock. And then we round out the year. We have our holiday party in person, the 17th of December. So sign up for that soon if you're interested in going. And then, because we have people all over the place, we're also going to have our wrap up end of the year Zoom cocktail party that Rick and Terry are going to be heading, and that will be lots of fun too. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Michelle. And
Can you send me the chat comments? Because I'd like to thank everybody who made a comment.
Jennifer, do you know how to
Really
do that? How to
appreciate
save
that.
the chat?
I'm not sure how to
When
do
there should be a transcript, and then I think the chat also shows up in the recording that of the video recording.
Oh, nice.
We do have the recording, but I don't know if you can see.
There's 3 dots at the very bottom. If you click on those, it says save chat.
Oh, I'll do that right now. Okay.
Should note that we're changing, and next year it's not gonna be the book club anymore. It's gonna be the Meet the Author.
Yes, meet the author. Yeah.
I think, and Terry Shepherd is scheduled for February. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but our next gathering will be in February.
Yeah, so we're flipping it a little bit. We'll be doing a bookstore in January, and then we'll be doing a meet the author with Terry in February. Are you able to save that chat for yourself, Michelle?
That's what I'm just looking at. Save chat. Okay. I'm gonna cross my fingers that we saved it.
Okay, we also are recording, so there's also,
Yeah,
you can always go to the end of the recording and look at it or something. But yeah, all right, everybody, have a good night. And
Great job, Michelle.
Yes,
Great job,
wonderful
Rick.
job. Thanks, Rick.
I was one of the small things I'm doing is venturing out among people. So hopefully I will see you all at the
Yes.
Christmas,
Please.
the holiday party.
Yep.
On the
I hope
17th.
so. That would be wonderful to see you
I'm
there.
planning to do that.
So,
yeah.
all right, hope to see you all. Have a good
Okay.
night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye, Rick. Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome, Michelle. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Bye.